All righty, welcome to the launch of the college baseball show with On the Clock at Just Baseball Media. I'm Jared. We got Tyler. We got Jason. We're here with a new college baseball segment. We're launching the college baseball show under the On the Clock brand. Kind of want to just separate out our college baseball and MLB draft content. So you'll be seeing the same faces. Not a ton's changing. It's going to be kind of the same content we did last year, but we're just going to have a separate dedicated show to college baseball. Yeah, excited to launch this. Jason, how are we feeling tonight?
Good. Enjoying a long weekend of festivities. Just got back from the airport. Went and went to the Arkansas actually to see some family. Sorry, just got a text of someone who's watching right now. Hey, coach. It's been a good weekend. How about y'all?
I love it. No, it's been good. Went to Annapolis today. Got some
Oh, nice.
waterfront lunch in around the Naval Academy. That's a cool spot. Really love it. How
Oh, lovely.
about you,
Lovely.
Tyler?
My
What's
brother's
going
in the
on?
Navy. Have I told you
Was he?
that?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
nice.
He's doing his going to be a psychiatrist.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he's in Virginia actually right now doing his residency, but yeah, he's in the Navy. Just
Awesome.
saw him. Yeah. Fun stuff.
Tyler, what are you doing with your long weekend after just being everywhere all summer? Collegiate area codes.
Working. Like we talked about this pre-show, but day job kicking my tail right now, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. So we were supposed to have our college top 50 board out today.
Yeah.
And I've just not had time to finish it. So I'm hoping later this week that's out. But yeah, like just the usual weekend now. It's gonna be like this for a little bit. So baseball, please come back.
Yeah, we need it. Fall ball's here,
Coming.
right around the corner.
Rosters are coming out.
Yep.
I've been looking at them, trying to see if they make any sense, but it's just around the corner, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Speaking of that, you were all over the portal this year, talking rosters. What are some of the biggest, I guess, changes you've seen within kind of the transfer portal system, how things are working? I think we've talked about this on other podcasts and kind of how the portal's just changed the game completely. But what were some of the things that you saw this year with the portal?
So this may be a little bit of a hot take, but I don't know if the portal was as strong as it was last year or the year before. There's some really good names, but a lot of the names were kind of just jersey swapping.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not any dig at the number of players that were in, but one of the top names on our board, Volchko, he was like a 5.6 ERA guy last year. Like he's got a ton of potential,
Yeah.
but it just never really has manifested itself on the field. So I think there wasn't a Chase Burns. There weren't any. There was definitely like the AJ Gracias of the world, but again, like changing jersey, like basically going same coach, just
Yeah.
different jersey. So I think kind of the surprise and talking with a few coaches is, with the amount of attrition, addition, matriculation, et cetera, that goes along with the off season, it's, some coaches were kind of going like, hey, which arm do I get? Hey, we need one more bat. And it was very evident towards the end of the portal cycle, because I just don't think there were those kind of can't miss players that were throughout the portal. There were definitely some good ones, but it just wasn't as deep. And so I think you definitely saw some high dollar numbers going to some individuals that maybe if they would have gone in the portal last year wouldn't have been as high, to be frank.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I even when I was doing the top 5 college teams in the portal class, like 2 of the teams that were on there, one was Mississippi State, and like they basically got a ton of their transfers from Virginia when they all followed Brian O'Connor there. And someone asked me this morning, they're like, for AJ Gracia, like, what does it mean that he transferred to Virginia? I was like, not much really, right? Same conference, same coach, just a different jersey. Like, I don't know if it means a ton for his like draft stock or anything like that. And Tyler, maybe you can kind of dive into that a bit more. But to me, it was like, hey, he's staying in the ACC and he's going to play for Virginia instead of Duke for Coach Pollard. Like, I don't know what else to say about that. Like, Tyler, I don't know if you have thoughts.
Yeah, your point to like what changes like draft wise for guys like Gracia who just they follow their coach and that's cool.
Yeah,
probably just none of the big things that we want to see change. Like the biggest thing with Gracia that I really do want to like talk about was the passivity It felt like there were times where, guys would get ahead of him early in counts, get to their best stuff pretty quick on him. That's why the K rate is so high for him. And that honestly doesn't change much. That's probably the biggest thing he's got to work on, is being a bit more aggressive. But at the same time, you look at what the rest of the offensive profile is. It's, still the same old, like, bat the ball skills are amazing. He has pull side power, up the middle power. You want to see him play center field next year and see if he can handle it. But if not, he's a guy that plays left field or maybe right field if the arm strength gets better, to where he just mashes. And he's a really, really good overall player, even if you include the fact that, yes, his first half from 25 this year was not the greatest. But, I think that's just the biggest thing is, like, unless it's a D2 guy or JUCO, or you're also looking at some other mid-majors that come up to the big leagues, go to the Power 4 conferences, then you obviously have more draft expectations. But with guys just going from team to team to follow coaches, not really much changes on that front.
It's not like your receiver king going from like D2 to Wake Forest.
Yeah, Seaver was definitely let's see how this adjusts to the ACC. How does he handle the better pitching? He's athletic. Where is he? Like, what position does he hold down? But whereas Gracier just like, stop being so passive.
Yeah. No, I agree. Just in terms of teams, so like, I guess for you guys, who are some of the biggest winners in the portal? I mean, I have mine, but Tyler, let's start with you. Who do you think was the biggest winner in the transfer portal this year?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That it's kind of puzzling because I know we obviously had Georgia number one. I think Georgia got really, really more experience. There's more. There's older leadership in there, if you want to quote unquote call it that. So I'd have to go with them. I think they brought in a lot of really good talent. Jack Arcamone from Richmond. He was a guy that we thought was going to go into the draft in like the top 6-7 rounds. Juan Cruz, admittedly, SWAC player of the year, I do believe, came to USA and actually did well until I think he got ran over by an opposing player on like a bad play gone wrong. Obviously bringing in some pretty good guys. They keep Trey Phelps too, which I think is massive for them. Like, Trey Phelps himself was draft eligible sophomore, kind of had a rough start to the year after a pretty solid freshman year. I would like to see everything kind of get a little bit more polished on that front. And what I mean by that is like kind of return to that freshman year form where he's pulling fly balls. He's doing damage and doing loud damage, mind you, to the baseball. So I'd like to see that kind of return for him, but I think he's a key cog that returns for him that's not in the portal. Jordan Stevens is a flame throwing righty. Jody Ariark, I think is his name, from New Mexico, also comes over.
He's really good.
What was it?
He's really good. He's a really good lefty bat, and when it's 305 to right field,
yeah,
he's gonna do well.
What is it? The little frat house there in right field is going to get peppered a lot.
Oh yeah, it's such a weird it's such a weird field because it's pretty deep to left. I want to say it's like 350 down the line to left, but it just feels like the ball just launches. They always say, hit it in the trees, and it feels like balls just land. I mean, remember that regional? The scores of those games were just ridiculous, and that's back-to-back years where it's been that. I think NC State beat them in the Supers last 2 years ago, kind of in like kind of big bat situations. I'm sure you remember that. But I mean, ultimately, you're right. Like they did really well. I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going, man.
Oh no, I mean that was about the end of it, anyways. Yeah, like what Georgia did, I think is pretty cool. Honestly, getting a lot of these older guys that come from these smaller schools to try and get more of a challenge. Try and see if you can earn that ring. Honestly, like I think that's a good way to kind of put together a good portal class. And it was a really large class too. It was something like 20 plus players coming in too.
Ridiculous amount. Ridiculous amount.
They're going to have a B team. It's fine.
The club baseball team is going to be really good this year, guys.
Yeah. I love it. Oh, Will's joined us. What's up, Will?
Hey, Will.
Welcome to the show.
How you doing, guys?
Just so you know, we're live. We decided to go live last minute, so don't say anything you're going to regret.
Oh, love it.
At all. Or say everything you're going to regret and just get
Yeah.
it all out. We're going over transfer portal biggest winners. So, Will, who do you got? Who's the biggest winner for you in the portal? Put you on the spot right away.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's been said so far, but it's really hard to ignore what Mississippi State did. And I think they're right up there with Georgia. Brian O'Connor coming in. I know we're going to talk about some coaching carousel stuff later. Love that pickup, but he's taken a lot with him from Virginia. So I think if you're a Mississippi State fan, you got to be really fired up with what they have. And we have to remember, this is a program that won a national championship post-COVID. Like, they're not that far removed from a national championship. So, it felt like last year and the year before they were kind of out of it a little bit. And it's, I don't know, the public perception of them, it feels like they haven't won a national championship recently, but really this is a program that's been really, really good of late. So I think you really have to be fired up with what they were able to bring in from Virginia that Brian O'Connor brought over with him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm just looking at you got Teal and James Donnelly. Like, you're basically built your outfield right there with those two guys. You bring in their Sunday starter and Valencius, and it's just, and his brother also plays, I think, outfield too. Tomas does. It's just, or sorry, Vitus does.
Valencius.
Yeah, he's the guy from Illinois. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And then William Kirk missed all last year of an injury, and he was like the Gatorade Player of the Year in New Jersey. So you're bringing a kid like that in also onto the team as well. I was really impressed with this O'Connor class. And again, like, of course, you could say, oh, he's just bringing in some of his Virginia guys, but he also got some guys outside as well, like Tyler Pitzer from South Carolina. And Drew Wires, a kid who hit over 400 for Bryant. I know you can go look at the conference and be like, oh, not a great conference, but if you're hitting 400 in college baseball, you're doing something right.
Well, also, Pitzer was the Cape Cod Pitcher of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he gave up one run in 36 and some odd innings. Just a stupid summer out of him. So they're bringing in a lot of good pieces over at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I love it. Jason, who you got? Who's your team?
Yeah, so I was going to say South Carolina, but since we've had two SEC schools already, I'm going to quickly pivot to Tulane.
Ooh, I like that.
Me, this is one that really surprised me. I mean, as someone who's, enjoyed the game for a long time, like, the Green Wave were definitely a team of my youth, and they've kind of taken not really a little bit of a backseat, but they've really, they came out very strong here in this portal season. I mean, you look at, they've got like the guy from Wagner, Toporek. Apologies, I'm horrible with pronunciation. Just, leave me be. They got, I think, 3 guys in the top 100. I think they got like 5 or 6 in the top 250. I mean, they basically battled with the big boys for a number of these players. They got Frankel from Liberty, Wood from New Mexico, Jack Braffa from Tennessee Tech. I think is going to fit really well with them. Owen Geist from Long Beach State. I mean, they really put together just a really deep class that I think when you look back on it, you'll be able to really see kind of that return on investment, where they'll really start to see the wins. Because I do think this is a formula now, where you basically, okay, I need 6 to 12 guys in my 17 deep, meaning like, my 9 hitters, my 8 pitchers plus. So, how many of that can I get from the portal? You got your Georges of the world who are going for like 15 of those 17 guys. I think it's going to be really unique to see, what does that come of? Then you have like your Tennessees of the world who usually get like 3 to 4. They had to go a little heavier this year because they had 20 plus guys go to the portal. But, it's always just a really unique, different way to put together teams. UCLA, first time in forever, got a couple of really good players out of the portal. They usually never touch the portal. So they're going to have an incredibly it's always, sometimes quality over quantity, but sometimes quantity is also a good thing as well. Like Lamar does a great job of getting really good quality players kind of in that like 500 to 200 range. And so it makes it to where, when you're playing those midweek games and maybe you were kind of leaning on, a younger arm or a younger bat to produce, now you're actually, putting in guys who've been there, done that, and can produce for you on that level and give you those extra, 7 to 8 wins that could really push you into that bubble and maybe get you into the tournament. So, I mean, I think there's a number of teams that are kind of on that cusp of the SEC. I mean, you look at the top 10, it's basically the SEC and then Virginia. So it's unique in that in the way that the game is right now, just with NIL. There's definitely a lot of movement towards kind of the ACC, SEC, Big 12. But I do think when you're talking about 6,000 guys in the portal, which we had like 6,500 some odd in there, you're going to have a lot of value in those like 1,000 to 200 players that really can turn around a team like a Tulane, can turn around a team like a Rutgers, can turn around a team like a Lamar. Even though Rutgers, lost their ace to Tennessee, they were still able to bring in quite a bit through the portal. So I just gave like 10 teams, but if I were to pick the one, it would probably be Tulane.
Yeah. No, I love that pick. And I was actually going to go South Carolina too, but now you're making me think, okay, maybe I should skip the SEC here.
No, South Carolina was a good one. South Carolina was a good one.
I mean, I'll just touch on them briefly, just because like Paul Maneri didn't have the year that he wanted to have last year. Like they went 6-22 in the SEC, went below 500. Saw a lot of those guys leave in the portal themselves, but like the portal class that he was able to kind of obtain, you could kind of just tell that they weren't ready to just kind of give it up, right? They wanted to build a program. They want to build a team that they're going to think is going to win in the SEC. And they went out and got guys like Josh Gunther out of Wake Forest, Bradley Hodges out of Virginia, Reese Moore, who absolutely raked at Iowa, a really good catcher there, and then Ethan Lizama out of Western Kentucky, who put up some kind of video game numbers too there as well. And then they went and got some freshmen with some upside, like Bryce Navarro out of Texas and Eric Parker out of Georgia. So like it was really impressive just to see what they were able to do after having that kind of down year. You'd think most guys would be like, I don't know if I want to touch it, but if they still have the NIL money coming in, I mean, they're going to be able to bring in guys like that and try to continue and build a program that can compete in the SEC. And they went out and got some names that can possibly help them do that. And the offense really struggled, I think, outside of guys like Ethan Petrie, and getting guys like Lizama and Logan Sutter out of Purdue. Like hopefully that can help jolt their offense a little bit, maybe bring them back. But it wasn't a pretty year for South Carolina.
They needed depth. I mean, you hit it. Like they had good top end quality, but they had no depth offensively, like zero.
Yeah.
So I think they went out and got that, and they got a number of really good. I mean, really, this was a very top heavy portal class. The distance between 4 and 5 was pretty broad, but I mean, Georgia, Mississippi State, and Tennessee were head and shoulders above everyone. Then there was a gap to South Carolina. Then it was like a gorge. So I mean, really, it was a unique class in that, like, I mean, LSU, I think they were like 80th or something until the last week when they got 4 or 5 guys. Arkansas lost a couple to the draft. They lost Grego to the draft, and then they lost the Little Rock pitcher. He went UDFA, and everyone and their dog thought they were going to get Volchko, and then Georgia came in, and they plucked him out of Stanford. So I mean, I think it was unique because you had Georgia or LSU and Arkansas have kind of dominated the portal from a baseball perspective the last few years, and both of them were kind of sitting on the outside looking in, really until the last couple of weeks. And neither one of them were able to jump into the top 10. But that was mainly because of, again, sometimes quality over quantity, because, they got like the Micah Marshall, and then LSU got some just ridiculous bats. Seth Dardar from Kansas State. He's one of my favorite bats. He finally got healthy for the Wildcats this year. So I don't know. I could talk about this forever, but yeah, I mean, it was a unique year for the portal.
Yeah, I love it. Just kind of moving on. Don't really want to talk about like the biggest losers, but like, does anybody have a team they're concerned about of guys that they lost in the portal?
I think Duke is an interesting case. I don't necessarily think that they lost, but with Chris Pollard going to Virginia, taking AJ Gracia with him, and it felt like Duke for the last handful of years was kind of knocking on the Omaha door. And I have a lot of confidence in Muscara over there. I think he's going to put together a really good program, but I think there's going to be some transition struggles these first couple of years, just with Duke kind of getting gorged in the portal this year. So I wouldn't necessarily call them a loser, but I think that they are going to struggle a little bit heavier this year.
Yeah. Anybody else got any other teams?
For me, I mean, I hate to point out, mid-majors because this is just the way of the portal, but you have to feel for Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, they just put together a phenomenal season, and they had like 7 of their top players going to the portal. I mean, they still got 9 guys out of the portal, but them, ETSU had like 4 or 5 of their best players go in. Southern Illinois. I mean, there was definitely some teams that when you look back on it, they say the portal giveth, the portal taketh, and I think it hit Western Kentucky, I think, particularly hard. But again, like if you're able to take those, if you're able to take those matriculations and add in other individuals, you'll be able to kind of lessen the blow a little bit. But it's not a subjective thought;
Yeah.
it's more objective opinion. It was a little rough on them this year.
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of hard watching some of those mid majors have to lose some of those guys.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a really interesting case now because those mid majors that are getting into the tournament. Western Kentucky was a really good story this year. They get into the tournament and then they kind of get gouged by the portal. But I actually think it gives them a leg up in terms of recruiting the following year. So you might be losing some of your top talent, but I've seen a lot of schools. Like if you haven't noticed, Sacramento State on Twitter was just pumping Wahiva Aloy content towards the end of the season, being, we gave this guy his start, come here, and maybe we can get you to Arkansas and you'll win the Golden Spikes. You know what I mean? So it's almost becoming like that for, maybe not the Western Kentuckys, but I think that's a big plus for them actually. And even though it hurts them as a team, the ability to be able to recruit top end junior college talent or even top end high school talent in an age where I think we're going to get closer and closer to, outside of the Dax Whitneys of the world, high school seniors are not going to be going Power 5. So, those guys might go to Western Kentucky for a year or two and then go to Tennessee. So I actually think in the long run, it's going to help them, but it is tough to see because we don't know the product that they're going to put on the field in 2026. But I think as you just look at it big picture, it's a good thing, but also a bad thing, right? The portal giveth and it taketh away.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree with you. Like, if you're a freshman at Georgia, like, what's your playing time gonna be? Right? We already talked about how they have basically a B team, and it's just based on portal guys. It's just one of those things, like you'd mentioned, like for a Sac State or for Western Kentucky, like you can maybe recruit those like highly touted freshmen. Be like, hey man, you can play every single day here. Come get your ABs, come get your innings. Like, it's a good way to like get yourself to a Power 5 that you want to go to. I mean, I think that's a huge thing, especially if you look at like top ranked guys in smaller states and things like that, and they're just looking for playing time. Like, go to those mid majors, go get your at bats, go get your experience. You're going to be playing those big teams. Like, you'll have an opportunity.
100%. I think it's really hard for high school kids right now because you look at the draft, it's continuously shifting towards the college player, and then you look at like the bonuses that these guys are taking. It's actually was less for high school than it would previously was. Like the volume of individuals who were taking below like 500K. I mean, there's quite a bit that are getting that like 150 plus because of the 11 plus range. But I mean, I think that 400,000 to 500,000 in round 15 or 16 is now looking really, really good for a player who may in the past was saying like, hey, no, I'm going to go to Oregon and I'm going to be like, starting as a freshman and I'm going to kill it. And after 2 to 3 years, I'm going to be a top 3-round pick and make my million, and I'll end up netting approximately 600,000-700,000 in value by betting on myself. Now you have guys who are, trying to make that decision, and then they go to a school and then they get, 10, 15 ABs. And they looked at the person beside them, and they're 23 years old who's played at Western Kentucky for the last 3 years. So, it's a difficult environment right now, I think, for high school kids. And I think they really have to start to really take it for what it is and go to, a program that, may not be the biggest name, but frankly, as you said, like Sac State, you can get your ABs and you can put up a ton of talent. I mean, what was it? It was Navy did the exact same thing with Skeens. Like when he won the Gold Spikes, like they went crazy. It was like, hey, we're the one who polished this guy. LSU just showed him off. So it's kind of the exact same thing. It's like, hey, come here, we'll develop you, and then go make your 200,000 to 300,000 in the portal, if not more now, and then then go pro. So I think there's a ton of value to. We have 200 ABs, whereas if you go to another place, you're maybe guaranteed 20.
Yeah. Tyler, I wanted to get your thoughts on this too, because you're so in tune with the MLB draft, and how have you kind of seen the shifting landscape for prep guys, for college guys, just as the portal's kind of grown?
Yeah, like Jason mentioned, like the draft's going more college heavy because teams are getting to not finite details with their draft strategy, but they're picking and choosing who they think fits their development plan better or their model better. In terms of prep, so they're like the prep landscape has gotten a bit not barren per se, but it's been a lot tougher for a prep guy to be drafted because of the fact that it's going to be higher, bonuses that are going to be wanted for some of these kids. Like we were seeing some of the guys that got like $3 million this year, or even higher, like later in rounds that. Give or take, some people are going to have some thoughts on that, but looking at it too, like you look at, I'll give an example. Kennesaw State, they've had Tanner Franklin go from being their closer to going to Tennessee. He's now been selected by the Cardinals and looks really good. Probably gets started up as a starter for that organization. Bo Rudy is now the next in line for that, and now. We mentioned Georgia earlier in that freshman class that was coming in. Granted, their 24 freshman arms are all at different schools. I know Nate Taylor, for one, is at Vanderbilt, and there's a few others have been scattered around to like UCF and some others. But they lost a pretty big recruit in Josh Gibbs very late in the process. He decommitted from Georgia leading up to the draft, and is now he's enrolled at Kennesaw State to get more at bats. So. I think there's some kids that are understanding like my best chance to kind of, get more at bats is to go to these mid majors, develop. And I think Kennesaw State's a good example of like, we develop these guys, we do a good job, and then, kind of send them off to an SEC or ACC school. So I think Gibbs is probably going to be one of the quote unquote trendsetters, if we want to call it that. And I really do think, as we get closer to, let's say NCAA does kind of start putting some limitations in NIL on how much is put out there. I think at that point, mid-majors will have so much talent going from 1 or 2 years there and then going to the SEC, ACC for your draft eligible junior years, to where I think there's going to be a pipeline set up for that and more intact than what it's been in recent years.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I love it. That's most of what we were going to cover for the portal. Just kind of shifting gears here into the coaching carousel. So kind of going into some of the new hires and their potential impact. We touched on like O'Connor and Muscara and Pollard, all kind of how the portal kind of played a role there. But I guess the big hires, James Ramsey, Georgia Tech, not really a new hire. He's been with Georgia Tech forever, but a new face at the head of the program. You've got Chris Pollard at Virginia. Brian O'Connor at Mississippi State, and Corey Muscara at Duke. Were there any other big coaching changes that I missed there? I think those are like the big four, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anybody have any thoughts on these guys and kind of what the potential impact might be?
I am huge on Brian O'Connor going to Mississippi State. And that's a program that historically is in Omaha, knocking on the door of national championships. And now you just gave him SEC money to play with. And I think that's a huge, huge piece of what's going to happen with Mississippi State, because if he's doing all that at Virginia, and even this past year, I know it's kind of an oddball year where they missed the tournament, but that team was unbelievably talented. And he was able to recruit that out of school that doesn't have football money much like a lot of the ACC. And now you're giving him SEC resources. And quite honestly, I think in terms of SEC resources, Mississippi State is up there for one of the top programs to have that NIL money to play with. And I think that they're just going to take a huge step over the next couple of years. And I think it's a really, really good hire for them and really good for him. You know, I at first I wasn't sure if he was actually going to leave, but it's pretty tough to turn down what Mississippi State gave him. So I totally get it.
Yeah. Jason, I know you were going to chime in there.
So since we, have 4 big ones, I'll just tackle Virginia. So, Pollard, we were just talking about the portal, the difficulty for the Dukes, for the Stanfords, Vanderbilt, Michigan State, others is it's very, very difficult to get anyone that has above like 30 credits. So if they're a sophomore by credits, it's incredibly difficult to transfer into those schools. So they're basically getting like freshmen or they're getting grad transfers. Like that's about it. So, I mean, they had a lot of limitations associated with like who they could get in the portal. And Duke was doing a pretty good job of that, of getting a lot of those grad transfers from Georgetown or from wherever. And they were going there and producing. But now it's not that Virginia isn't a quality school. Clearly, it's one of the best public schools in the country, but they just don't have as rigorous of a admissions process. And now they're kind of, those shackles are off a little bit, and talking a little bit with their coaches, they're pumped for that. They're pumped for the fact it's like, hey, now I can recruit those AJ Gracias of the world who are sophomores or juniors that would have been very, very difficult for them to bring over. So I think you mentioned, Will, how they've been kind of on the precipice of Omaha these past few years. I mean, what are they going to look like now that they've been, given a little bit of a boost in terms of potential for their roster? So I mean, it's going to be difficult because they're at a new location, but at the end of the day, the schedule is going to look very, very similar. It's the same teams. They know the coaches at those places. If anything, their schedule just got a little bit lighter. I mean, Muscara is great, but one of the best coaches in the game is now out of the ACC. So, like, in theory, like, maybe it could have gotten a little bit easier. It'll be really interesting, but I really like that coaching staff, and I feel like they're primed for really good things. And I think Virginia's primed for a comeback year, because I think everyone was always a little confused by the beginning of their season, and it seemed like they were coming on towards the tail end of the season, and then it was kind of like, okay, well, what's going to happen with some of the games that they missed, with to no fault of their own, and then they ended up not getting in. And frankly, based upon the committee's decision processes, they shouldn't have. But I think, all of those factors going into it, a team who wants to make up for the previous season, a coaching staff that wants to go in there and prove themselves, like, hey, Duke wasn't just a flash in the pan these past few years. Like, we're building something great. Let's do it here in Virginia as well. Like, I think you've kind of created this formula of success that they hopefully should be able to replicate.
Yeah. And I think the biggest other bonus for them going to Virginia is you have a community who loves that baseball team. That place is packed out during the season. The community invests in that team, like not like they do with like football or basketball. I mean, they do it with basketball, but the fans come out and support. There's constant energy in that stadium for that team, and it, like you said, I think it's maybe not resourced like a Mississippi State in the SEC, but they have pretty good resources for their baseball team. They have some of the best facilities in the ACC. It's beautiful ballpark. They got all this other kind of resources to their disposal now. And as you kind of mentioned, you have that great of a coaching staff now all of a sudden have those resources in their hands. Like, what are they going to do with that program and kind of be able to build it up? So it's going to be interesting to watch over the next couple of years. Tyler, do you want James Ramsey or do you want Corey Muscara?
I'll take Ramsey because I think what Georgia Tech has right now, and I'm not saying this to take Ramsey over Muscara. Muscara, love you, buddy. You're awesome. I think, first off, I think Duke's in a better position than they were when Pollard arrived because of what Pollard was able to build. And I think Muscara is a good fit for that program. to make everything kind of gel together here. But like Will said before, there's probably going to be some growing pains here, considering the lack of not lack of talent, but what they lost in the portal. But with James Ramsey, he was the next man up basically in that team. He's been an assistant coach for them for a few years now, and the guys absolutely love him. Just having been having seen those guys on the field. Having talked to some of the players too, they absolutely love Coach Ramsey. And another thing too, like Georgia Tech was able to get Jaron Advincula from Cal, who we all thought was going SEC. And looking at the talent they have coming back, you have Drew Burris coming back, Alex Hernandez coming back, Von Lackey's coming back. Von Lackey might be the best catcher in the draft this upcoming year. Yep. Potential hot take, if we want to call it a hot take, but
it is. You're right.
Like Von Lackey might just be one of the more not interesting, but like one of the more athletically gifted players in the entire country. And every single facet of his game is really up and coming. I think he's a very, very fascinating player. But adding Advincula to that infield, keeping Carson Kurz, who's going to be the shortstop this upcoming year, I do believe. There's just so much talent there. And getting Dylan Loy from Tennessee, among others, like there's a lot of good things Georgia Tech did this year in the first recruiting class as head coach for James Ramsey. And I think Georgia Tech, coming off of an ACC regular season title this past year, granted, you can argue the schedule was a bit soft. They didn't play any of the other top 4 teams that were in the title fight for the regular season title, but I think Georgia Tech got a lot better this offseason, and I would not be shocked if they return this year and they're fighting for the title again. I really don't. I think Georgia Tech is set up for success for the next couple of years at minimum with what they have at their disposal right now. So
yeah, I'm
excited to see what Coach Ramsey can do with that squad, having been in the wings for an absolute legend of a coach the past ages. I think
it's probably like 15 plus years for sure, wasn't he?
It's more than that.
Yeah.
I think Danny Hall's been at Georgia Tech since like the 90s.
Yeah, like 20 then, 20 to 30.
I was talking with Georgia Tech's coaching staff prior to the portal, and they're like, yeah, we just don't need as much in the portal this year. And then, I mean, you pretty much nailed all of them, but like Shadek from Rutgers, Zuckerman from Pittsburgh. I mean, they got a bunch of plug-and-play portal guys for a team that really didn't have a lot of holes to be plugged. So, they should be a pretty complete team next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I was going to ask you, top 10 team in the country, Georgia Tech? Top 15? What do you got?
Top 10 to 15, man. Just looking at it from a preseason standpoint, I know preseason rankings are, they're there. But I do believe Georgia Tech is going to be not only one of the top teams in the ACC, but one of the top teams in the country when we get to ranking season. So,
yeah, I was going to say preseason ranks mean everything. I think we had A&M 1 in Virginia too. So obviously we were spot on.
I think you almost have to look at it from like potential. Like I think it's kind of dumb to say, oh, I think this team is fifth.
Yeah.
Because who knows? But I do think you have to say, like, what's their ceiling? What's their floor? I think their ceiling is high, and I think their floor is high. So I think I don't foresee them like a Virginia-type season, knock on wood, Yellow Jackets. But it's those kind of thing where they've got so much talent in enough places to where they should be able to compete with any team that's on their schedule. So, yeah, I think they'll be really good.
Yeah. I'll touch on Muscara just briefly here and kind of the Duke situation. I'm interested to see how this program kind of maintains itself, right? He brought, I don't even know how to say the last name, but Scott Loiseau from Dayton, the Dayton head coach, I think he was at Dayton for like almost 15 years. They brought in a ton of Dayton guys into Duke because of that as well. So he was able to get that. I think they got a couple of Wake Forest guys, maybe just one that followed Muscara over there, but they still had a top 25 portal class. So I have to imagine they're going to have some talent there. Are they maybe going to struggle in the ACC under his first year? Potentially, like the ACC is very good. But I'm excited to see what Muscara can do just because he's one of those guys that you talk to him and he's just like kind of lights up a room in some sense, right? Like everybody wants to be around him. He cares about his guys. He cares about his team. You can see it in like every interview that you do with him, that he just wants to win and he just wants to have his guys succeed. So I think that kind of mentality that he's going to bring into the Duke program, I think they're going to have their, like Will had mentioned, their kind of early struggles maybe in the first couple of years under this coaching staff, but I don't think this is a team that's going to go away completely.
Yeah, Bobby Marsh was an interesting guy 2 portal cycles ago. He went from Penn State to Miami, and now he's going from Miami to Duke. They got Cider again. Apologies for phonetic issues, but I think he was the Davidson outfielder / like catcher. He was one of those that was kind of a late commit near the end. And the nice thing of when we have all of these programs that utilize our services, we have coach that generally reach out near the end. We had so many asking about this guy because of the versatility of his game. So really good pickup for them kind of in the tail end of the class. And as you said, they also kept a lot of the guys that Pollard and them were able to grab at the beginning. I mean, they were able to bring over some of the guys. But I want to say like 6 to 7 of those commits that they had originally on actually stayed with Muscara with the regime. So really interesting case study. And I mean, you're not going to be able to replace a Gracia, but I don't think they were expecting to keep or be able to replace that. You just kind of expect it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So going into other news in college baseball this summer, I want to kind of go through some of the summer standouts. Now, Tyler, I know you were at USA Collegiate, so we'll probably kick it off with you there. And then Will, I know you've been paying attention to the Cape Cod League, so turn over to you for a couple guys there. But Tyler, what do we got? I know you saw like every dude basically at USA Collegiate, but who are like 3 top standouts for you?
I would say I'm going to rank him pretty high here too, even if I had some reservations on kind of profile. But Tyler Bell is one of them where, this is a guy that turned down second round money from the Rays in 24. I think he was 67th overall, and then I think also Chris Lavonis was 60th overall. Went to college, but he's a 27. But Tyler Bell himself is a pretty fascinating prospect in his own right. Like, we had Rock Chalowski there, obviously, and I'm not going to talk about Rock because I've already said my due justice on him. But with Bell, it's bat feet from both sides. He's a guy that has really good power for his first taste of college baseball, even if the hit tool is a little shaky. He pulls the baseball a ton from both sides of the plate. He's also a really, really talented infielder. I think he's a legitimate shortstop because they had him playing second base with Chalowski. And that may have been like the most fluid, most dynamic middle infield I think I've seen in some sort of scouting setting. Because they're both highly athletic. They're both really good movers to their left and to their right. Like they made everything look really easy. So I think Bell is a legitimate shortstop. The biggest thing for him I want to see is be more direct to the baseball. And what I mean by that is when I kind of post this film and get to the open side, he had trouble swinging over a majority of the pitches, especially off speeds, where he was trying to hit up on the baseball, and because his back shoulder was collapsing. So trying to stay in line to the baseball and make sure the shoulder rotates instead of collapsing should help him improve the bat to ball skills a little bit. But even then, like looking what he was able to do for Kentucky this past year, he's already cleared the 110 mile an hour barrier pretty consistently. He handled heaters at a pretty good clip as well. I think his end zone rate was over 90% contact on heaters in the zone. Just need to clean up a couple things, but he's the guy that I really enjoy. Von Lackey, I know we've already talked about it before, but Kyle Teal athleticism was a thing. Like Kyle Teal was going into Virginia, highly regarded for the bat. He was kind of iffy on defense, but then it kind of switched. He became a really big outlier for catchers. Like he moved very, very well, and he was really athletic. I think some an announcer quoted as, "We have a shortstop behind the plate." Von Lackey is pretty similar. I don't think the offensive impact is there just yet as to what Teal had, but what Lackey was able to do Again, pulls the baseball a ton. The power's up and coming. He did a very good job working walks over the past year. But the biggest thing, the athleticism behind the plate. It's one of the best catch and throws I've seen from a catcher at the collegiate level. And I don't use that lightly at all. I've seen a good fair bit of college catching through the past few years through the ACC, and I think Lackey's going to be up there with the best of them. Really, really athletic guy, and I think everything's in line for him to have a breakout campaign in 26 atop this Georgia Tech lineup. I'm really high on the kid. I really do hope he's able to tap into all of the potential he has, because I think he's a guy that is going to be the first catcher off the board next year with what he has available in his tool set. I think he's a very fantastic prospect in his own right. And if there's another guy I want to talk about too, I'll even bring up an arm on this one just to kind of spice things up a little bit, because the college arms class this year is not great. There's a lot of bats that's very top heavy, but the arms kind of lack a little bit after the first couple of guys. But if there's a guy that's going to kind of like surprise people a little bit, probably Ethan Kleinschmidt from Oregon State. I think what he was able to do in 2025, being able to not only get his way into that Oregon State rotation, but also perform very well. I think he struck out 113 guys in 91 innings. It's a really unique profile to where it's a wider arm spiral. It's a longer arm swing. You can see some Nelson Keljo in there, but it's not the similar kind of pitcher. I think Kleinschmidt's more polished than what Keljo was at this point last year. And the thing with Kleinschmidt is, he doesn't throw hard, but his pitch shapes are all there. I think there's a really good fastball with good vertical carry. There's run to it. It's not like a Liam Doyle explosive, like blows you out of the water kind of fastball, but similar shape, gets the same kind of swing and miss at the top of the zone, but he just doesn't throw it hard. It's averaging 90, maybe gets to 95 in shorter stints, but he's a guy that I think is going to add more weight to his frame. He's going to get stronger. He's going to start throwing harder. Getting some more power to the breaking ball is going to be a thing that he needs, but he already gets up to 17 inches of sweep on average for a sweeper. And he's got really good feel for a changeup that he just didn't zone a lot this past year, but he was dotting it on the corners against guys at USA. He had a 4-inning start, scoreless. It looks like a guy that can really command the zone well with 3 pitches, maybe add a 4th in there if you want to add like a little bridge offering. But he's a guy that's going to add more velocity to his frame. I think he's a no doubt starter. It's more of a higher floor guy, but there's upside to tap into. And I think it's a guy that could have average or better 3-pitch mix with potentially above average plus command at the next level. And that's just a really good profile to bet on as a draft guy, because it again signals a high floor, but having nothing below 50 on your arsenal with the ability to throw as many strikes as he does, it's really hard to not think about Michael McGreevy, who, yes, first rounder in I think it was 21 or 22. I can't remember which year it was. But, he's at the major league level. He's doing really well in the past few weeks for the Cardinals as well. I think he's been the best starter since the All-Star break for them. So it's something down that little path line for Kleinschmidt, a little long-winded, but I think he's a guy that's really going to pop next year.
I love it. Will, who you got for the Cape? Any guys there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll list off 3. One of them is a new Texas commit, big time portal grab out of Seton Hall. Aiden Robbins put together a ridiculous summer, and he hit well over 400 at Seton Hall. But when people see that, they might dismiss it, smaller mid-major, but he put up a 936 OPS in the Cape. He won the batting title, 6 pumps, 6 doubles, 14 RBI, only played 26 games, but man, he had a big time summer out there. So I think he's going to be a big time add for Texas. And that was a team that really their biggest shortcoming was on offense. So I think as of right now, he's kind of put himself in a position where I think he can contribute right away. So I'd be surprised to not see him in the lineup, at least early on in 2026 for the Longhorns. Next up from the Cape 2, University of Hawaii infielder Elijah Ikes. one of my favorite guys to watch last year. He slotted in a lot at shortstop with them when Jordan Donahue got hurt, and then he slotted around the infield. He missed some time with injury as well last year, but I mean, his power production this summer in the Cape was just crazy. He hit 5 home runs compared to just his 1 in pretty much the same amount of at-bats at Hawaii last year, same amount of RBIs and less at-bats, put together an 859 OPS, and he plays a really, really good infield. I think he's going to end up sticking at shortstop for them in the spring with Jordan Donahue graduating, so I'd be shocked to not see him at shortstop, but that's another program that has a lot of guys coming back that I'm really excited about it. And he put together a really good summer. So I think if you're Coach Hill and the rest of the Hawaii staff, you got to be stoked about getting your key shortstop back into play. And especially with the offensive production he put up in a wood bat pitcher dominated league this year. And last up is Chris Hakopian. I thought he put together a really solid summer. Struck out 6 times in 132 at-bats. I believe he went his first 50 at-bats, first 11 or 12 games without striking out once. Only 14 walks in that time, but this is a guy who walked 40 times to 19 strikeouts last year at Maryland. And he's moving on to Texas A&M this year, and I think it's another big portal grab. He's got that loud swing, even though it didn't translate to a ton of home runs this summer, only 2 with 6 doubles, but he put up 14 last year. I mean, this is a guy with that type of swing that he has, probably could put up double digits home runs pretty easily at A&M next season. I anticipate him taking a pretty big jump. So I think that's a big grab for the Aggies. And he's a guy that's more than likely, even against the SEC pitching, going to walk significantly more than he strikes out. So at the very least, he's going to be a good on-base guy for the Aggies in a lineup that was very hot and cold last year.
Yeah, I love it. Saw Hakopian a lot in Maryland.
Yeah.
Dude's just good at baseball. There's no doubt about it. I don't know how you only strike out 14 times in a season, but it's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah. So we've gone through some portal news. We've gone through some of the hot guys of the summer. I guess the only news for this is DBU, Dallas Baptist, joining the Pac-12. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Great news for, Oregon State as they're potentially trying to right the ship. Of course, they may not want to right the ship of their schedule. That worked out so well for them in terms of the RPI. And then, you've got like Washington States of the world that also, trying to kind of get their footing based, of where they're going to be from a baseball schedule, which is interesting for, Washington State because they joined the WAC for baseball, if I remember correctly, for their scheduling. So, now that there's now more of a Pac-12 or Pac whatever number you want to call it, are they going to now, be strictly that for this will be for not this year, but 2027, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So 2026, they'll be back. They'll be playing in their same conference.
Yeah. So I think it's great for DBU, clearly, because they'll be, in more of the limelight. I mean, they've always been a marquee program, but it's generally been a program that, I would say the casual fan really starts to hear more late May, early June. So I think they'll be in more, computer screens or phones or televisions, whatever you want to call it, in those early February, early March games where they really kind of haven't been seen as much. So I think that's great because I highly doubt they would like to go back to LSU as a 2 seed. They'd like to be hosting their own regional.
Yeah. Yep. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Will, looks like you wanted to say.
Yeah, I'm with Jason. I think this is a really good move for DBU. Obviously have solidified themselves as one of the top mid-majors year in and year out. Dan Hefner is one of the best hitting coaches in the entire country. So I think them getting in, and hopefully the Pac-12 can kind of get back into that, power conference, whatever you want to call it, back within the realm of a power conference. But I think DBU getting in front of people, like Jason said, is really, really important. Even if it's West Coast, I still think it's big time for them. They're taking that next step. And I think Pac-12 baseball is going to be really, really fun in 2027.
Yeah, I love it. We're going to wrap up with some 2026 early previews. It's like too early to predict anything. So Jason looks like he's ready for this and is going to love every minute of it. So
hate it.
We're going to start with early favorite for Omaha. Tyler, kick us off. Who's your early favorite for Omaha?
UCLA.
Ooh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, they did.
That's too easy of a call. Too easy.
It's very easy. That's why it came off the tongue so quick.
Jared, make him pick somebody else. It's too easy. Big Ten.
We're racing this. Tyler, go again.
They're gonna
Wow.
They're gonna wake up
something
and win
that's
20
live.
games. They're waking up and winning 20 games in the Big Ten. You got to pick somebody else. Not
Hey, this isn't. It can be easy. Tyler can go the easy route if he wants to.
Boo.
Tyler's done. He's silent now. He's given up.
Now I have to think about another team since
I mean, you're an ACC guy. You gotta. You don't want you don't think Florida State can get back to Omaha after their 1 year hiatus?
My biggest question with Florida State is their rotation. I think because they did get Trey Beard. They're going to return Wes Mendez. I'm very interested to see who gets the third spot. But the pitching last year, admittedly, wasn't the greatest, especially the bullpen.
Super top heavy pitching wise.
And I just wonder, how much do they have? Like they got Cole Stokes, John Abraham returns, but they're both guys with big command issues. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking at is how does that pitching, get stronger this year after losing Jamie Arnold, Peyton Prescott, all these guys that had big roles for them this past year.
Yeah.
If I have to go an ACC team, I'm not going to choose Virginia because that's too on the nose.
Wait,
Georgia
we can't
Tech's
choose easy teams. Like, what's it?
Georgia Tech's too easy. I'm thinking out loud here.
I feel like Georgia Tech's a good pick.
What about Stanford? Stanford going to make their turn? I mean, the noted ACC Stanford.
What if I said Cal might be better than Stanford this next year?
Well, Cal was pretty dangerous in the ACC tournament. You never know. Maybe lights switched on.
Yeah, they were dangerous, but then they also lost Advincula and Maraudis. Maldino went to Arizona State too, if I remember correctly, with PJ.
Kane's cat Heat's in the chat, bumping up Miami, of course.
I think I think Miami is going to be good. I think Miami is definitely going to be good. But it'll be interesting to see if they'll be good enough to kind of make that next jump. Yeah. I feel like that'd be for me to put it. But I agree, they will be good, no doubt.
Yeah. Also, by the way, take care of my boy Alex Sosa, please.
That was a big pull.
Yeah,
that was huge.
Alex Sosa, I love the kid to death. Please take care of him. I know he's back home too, so that's a good thing for him. I'm excited to see how he does this year, personally. Yeah.
One of the most underrated catchers in college baseball.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I will personally let you have UCLA. I'm not offended.
Okay. Okay. I'm off the hook. Yay.
Now we're gonna put Jason on the spot since he just tore Tyler's pick apart.
Okay, so we'll have some fun. I feel like we're gonna start with the Big 12 first. So you got to start with TCU. TCU brings in three.
Mine.
I'm sorry.
That was my pick. We got to be more creative now.
I'm gonna do each conference and take all of your teams. That's right. They're bringing in three of the best freshmen. They're probably bringing back the preseason Big 12 Pitcher of the Year. They're bringing back two of the best freshman hitters out of the Big 12. I mean, they have. When you look at kind of that, we were talking about the 17 deep. I don't think they're 17 deep right now, but I think they have that like 6 to 8 of any team in the country. If you were to sit there and we were playing dodgeball, and everyone was like, I picked this one and this one, and you had every single player. I think if you're talking about like the first 6 rounds, there'd be a shit ton of TCU guys picked. Because they are those first 6 guys, even into the top 10, they're going to be very, very good. So I'm a big fan of TCU this year. In the SEC, I'm actually really looking at Kentucky. So the Cleaver was a guy that they've got coming back. They bring in. We've already talked about Bell, the shortstop, who's probably going to be a top 5 pick. I mean, they're bringing in another really good portal class. It just feels like they put together a solid roster every year. I think last year was a little bit of a step back, but it was still a solid roster. It's just they didn't have a lot of those 1-2 win games like they had. The 1-2 run win games like they had the previous year. Felt like they lost a lot of those. So I really feel like Kentucky is going to be a team to look for in the SEC. And ACC, I mean, frankly.
Oh, you're really going every conference.
Yeah.
You're taking all our teams.
This is it. This is the last one. Let's see. For the ACC, I think, honestly, I'm going to have to go Virginia.
Ooh,
yep. I really think that Pollard and that crew, they're playing with a little bit of fire, because I think the big discussion that was going around was like, oh my gosh, like what's Virginia going to do that they just lost this Hall of Fame coach? I mean, they may have just gained another one, and not only that, but they may have just gained one that's like really hungry for all of the great things that O'Connor does, and he has done a great. He had 5-6 first round or first day one, and they went 500. So I mean, he had a ton of talent last year, and it just didn't really mesh. So maybe they needed a little bit. Maybe all parties involved needed a new setting. And as Will stated, they've kind of been on the precipice of Omaha. I think they're ready to punch through with a program that's frankly used to being there.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. There's boom. Now I took all 3 of them.
Yeah, since you stole TCU on me, I'm just gonna be like Tyler and go the easy route and take Georgia.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's easy. Just gonna do it. Sorry.
And you gave me crap for my UCLA pick.
Yeah, Georgia's worse.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. It's worse. I mean, I think Wes Johnson's going to completely turn around Volchko and Matt Scott. And then they got Caden Aoki. They got Dylan Vigou. Like, that rotation's going to be nasty. And then they got a ton of other guys. And the bats are going to be just as good. Yeah, I'll go Georgia. It's easy. Sorry, Jason, you took everyone. So.
No. I think Georgia's a great pick. And just Will, as before, Kane's cat said, what about Clemson and Arizona State?
ASU got a good portal class.
What do y'all think about Clemson? Will, do you have any thoughts on Clemson? I have no idea. Like, frankly, I was reading some article that basically said, like, from a win percentage, like, expectation, that they just weren't really, like, they basically been overachieving. So I don't know. I have no feel for Clemson. They lost a couple of guys out of the portal to the draft. Wiseman from Western Kentucky. That was like, so I mean, yeah.
I was gonna feel better about Clemson if Weideman got to campus.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know. I agree with you, Jason. Last year, Clemson, I kept calling it like Clemson voodoo magic because they just kept winning games. Like, it really felt like that team overperformed. Like, as a team that they hit, I want to say like 265, 270, and they just continually won games. Granted, they had probably one of, if not the best bullpen in college baseball. That bullpen was silly, and the starters would get bounced early. And even they had good starters and they would get chased early, and then the bullpen would just hold teams where they were, and they'd find a way to come back in the 8th and 9th inning. I don't know what to make of them. I'm not sure. It's a program that is historically very, very good, so it's always hard to discount them, but I don't know if I have any strong feelings on them right now. And Jared, to your point, if Weidman got to campus, that would have been a huge for them, but he is not, unfortunately. So I'm not super sure on Clemson this year. Obviously, the coaching staff is great, and it's a program of big success. So we'll see.
Who is your pick?
So since Jason took TCU, I'll take that one step further and say TCU is my favorite to win it all.
Nice.
The team I got to say, I saw them a lot last year. I really like what they bring back. Obviously, you bring back Sawyer Strauss-Snyder, who's probably going to be Big 12 Player of the Year. Even guys that didn't get as much love, like Mason Brassfield, I think is going to take a big step for them. Big left-handed pitcher. Hard not to like what they have. I'm actually going to stick in the Big 12 here and go with another team that I really, really like, especially from last year, and it's the Arizona Wildcats. They bring back one of the best rotations in all of college baseball. You bring back one of my favorite 2026 right-handed pitchers. Owen Kramkowski, got to see him live last year. Just silly stuff. I think he's going to take the next step, especially if he throws on some weight. You bring back Smith Bailey, who is one of the best freshman arms in the league, and just kind of inconsistent at times. I think it was just freshmen kind of take your licks at times. And then you have Colin McKinney back. And I think it's going to be structured really similarly to last year, the way that Chip Hale wanted it to. These are our 3 horses, and we're going to see what we can do after that. And they brought back Tony Pluto, which is huge for them. He was the best closer in college baseball in 2025. The offense is where I have questions. You lose Mason White, you lose Brendan Summerhill, you lose Adonis Guzman. So I don't know where they're going to be producing as many runs as they did last year, but I have a lot of faith in the pitching staff, and I think they're going to be a really competitive Big 12 team again this year.
I love it. I love that pick.
Will, I comment. You said the best closer. I will say, I thought last year.
Biasly.
I thought last year they were talking about the stopper of the year. I was like, how do you pick it this year? You had the Baylor closer who's phenomenal. I've forgotten his name because I'm terrible at ball knowledge. You had Jean from Houston. You had
Patel from Georgia Tech.
I mean, literally, you had so much talent in the back end. I honestly, it felt like there were 10 to 15 guys. You'd be like, oh, I bet this guy's the best closer in baseball. Yeah. But I knew as soon as you said that, I was like, if there are any Longhorns right now, they're throwing up every hook 'em.
I was gonna have us do dark horse candidates too, but Jason basically mentioned all of them. So
I got dark horse.
Oh yeah. Don't you dare say Wolfpack.
No. Cincinnati Bearcats.
Ooh, I like it.
Even after losing the Big 12 Player of the Year?
They lose the Big 12 Player of the Year, but they keep Jack Natilli, who I think is going to be a really solid bat this year. Nathan Taylor's returning. Nathan Taylor was arguably one of the better starters in the Big 12 last year. Cal Sefcik, I think, returns. And he was one of the best sophomores last year. Derek Pitts is one of the better freshmen in the Big 12. They've got a lot of firepower, in my opinion. I think Cincinnati's been on the uptrend for the past few years. I totally see this as a team that further extends that uptrend, and I think they personally might get farther than they did this past year. I think they were the second or third team out in the Knoxville Regional this past year against Wake Forest and Tennessee, and I can't remember who the other team was in there, but I'm personally really high in the Cincinnati team. They've got a lot of really good talent. So that's my dark horse.
I love it. Mine's going to be in the same conference, and it's going to be West Virginia. That
was mine.
Yeah, was it? They're bringing a ton of guys back. They got Chase Meyer coming back. They did really well in the portal this year as well, bringing in a mid-major guy like Andrew Middleton, who's got some really intriguing stuff. They went and got Matthew Graveline, a catcher out of Ohio State. Brock Wills came in from UNCW. Saw him live this year, and he's pretty good as well. I just really like this team overall, and they, again, you could say they had a fake 40-plus win season last year just because of their strength of schedule, but they played well. I think the talent's there. They had a lot of young guys last year too, who I think just needed to kind of take that next step. I think this is their opportunity to do so, and I really like what West Virginia brings to the table. Well, do you want to kind of build on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to ignore what Coach Saban's is building over there. I mean, it truly is a sleeping giant at this point. They just sunk all that money into new facilities. They're absolutely beautiful, and it's just another platform for him to recruit on. And they took a big step last year, and that was a team that personally, I and Jared knows this better than anyone, I wasn't super high on. Every time I watched them, I just felt like I wasn't super impressed. But they found ways to win, and there's always something to be said for that. And I think if they can continue to take those steps, they can be really, really sneaky. I think there has to be a mid-major thrown into the mix. One of these times, Dallas Baptist is going to knock down the door. Give me Dallas Baptist. Every single year I say them. Honestly, even right now, rosters aren't out. I don't know exactly what they're bringing back, but give me Dan Hefner and the Dallas Baptist Patriots. I think eventually they're going to get there, and it's a team that every single year I root so hard for. They always have a couple of really big arms. The bats are always ridiculous there. They're one of the best developmental offensive teams in the entire country. So I think I'm just going to go in blind and go with Dallas Baptist like I do every single year.
Might as well. It never hurts.
Yeah.
They're going to get like 40 wins and probably be in the
exactly.
playoffs, so you got a good shot.
Yeah.
Jason, I'm not even going to ask you since you named like 7 teams. So
I like that Kentucky pick. Kentucky, I really like that pick.
Yeah,
a lot,
that's a good
actually.
pick.
Tyler Cerny, they got in the portal too from Indiana. I think he's going to take another step, and he was one of my favorite shortstops coming into last year. But
and we haven't even talked about the Arkansas Razorbacks. Those are big time dark horse. I mean, I can see them coming out of nowhere, maybe winning 45 games, shocking the world.
Hey, if I'm not allowed to talk about NC State, you can't talk about Arkansas.
I actually, and maybe if the coaches hear this, sorry guys, but I don't think they're going to be as good this year. That's my. Maybe I can say that because people know that they're also kind of my team. I think they have some real questions at pitching that we'll have to really see.
you got Cole Gibbles.
Gibbler. What did you see how he did at Team USA?
I did not.
It was no bueno. He got rocked in Japan. But I mean, Gackle was really good, but really only out of the bullpen. Like, will he finally turn it around? I'm really intrigued to see what happens to them pitching wise and hitting wise. I mean, they lost. You know, I don't know if y'all have seen what. Why have I already forgotten? It's the guy who dropped the ball in left field. So sad for him.
Oh, Davlon?
Yeah, Davlon.
Yeah.
Wow, God, I don't know ball. He is destroying the minors right now. Like, absolute. I think he's batting like 700. So something just absolutely silly, which I feel really happy for him. And then they lost Aloy. They lost so many players. I mean, their portal class is pretty good, but I mean, I don't know. I think Arkansas. We were talking about the ceiling and the floor of Georgia Tech, both being high. I think Arkansas's like ceiling to floor is pretty broad this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think their floor could be in the 20s, or even out of the top 25. I could see them being a 2 seat somewhere. I mean, you never know, but I could absolutely see that from a team like them this year.
Yeah. Last question we're going to wrap up on. Can LSU repeat?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
No
like,
right?
yeah.
They while they lost a lot, they've got like 6 pitchers who we were talking about, like, are they going to take that 300 to 500K? They basically all said no and then went to LSU. So I mean, they've got incredible pitching depth. They are replacing everyone that they lost. Monster Milam's coming back. Yeah, you lose Jared Jones, but just talked about you get Dardar. Then they get third baseman from High Point. Again, I don't know why his name is eluding me, but he put up just an absolutely insane year last
Was it
year.
Dershling? Or was he an
No, Braden Simpson, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also when it went pro. I think he had like a 1400 OPS. Something. It was like one of the top OPS in the country. He was an All-American third baseman for us. I think he was actually the number 1 third baseman.
I forgot they got Trent Caraway.
Yeah, they got Caraway.
Did they really? I didn't miss that.
Yeah. They got Caraway. They got him. I mean, they're bringing back Curiel. I mean, they're going to be very, very good. Aaron Bede is going to be coming back. He barely played last year. And I mean, yeah, they're stacked. It's silly. So, do I think they're going to be preseason number 1? No. Do I think they're going to be preseason top 5? Probably.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. That kind of does it for everything we got for this episode. We got a ton of content coming your way this offseason. Will's going to be rolling out behind the scenes. He's got some interviews with players. Just give you a look on who they are outside of the game as well. Tyler's got the top 50 draft board dropping soon. That'll be coming out for the college guys, and then I'll have a prep one following that. College baseball show is going to be coming to you bi-weekly, or at least we're going to try to this offseason, then weekly during the regular season. Got coaches corners. We're gonna have a bunch of college coaches on doing interviews. We have MLB draft interviews. So tons of stuff coming your way. Really looking forward to the fall ball this year and the 2026 season. So till next time, we'll see you.